is you work for a DDD. You also work for Better Vision, which is also a family business too, and not listed in the stock market. So how do they use the tools that we learn in finance about financial decision making for investments?
I just want to go back a little bit more when I worked with Kasikorn Bank. It's a listed company, a huge bank, and like Professor said, I graduated from MBA at Kellogg, and like you guys, we learned a lot of tools. I was so ready to apply those tools. I started off with a department about working about international expansion of the bank. So I wanted to do NPV, I wanted to do IRR. I sent an email to the finance department asking for discovery. What is the WACC here? And the answer that I got was like, what is WACC?
And mind you, this is from one of the biggest banks in Thailand.
Yeah.
Bank.
What is WACC?
Are we allowed to say this?
One bank in Thailand.
Okay, one bank, a bank in Thailand which has green as a color, right?
Yeah, the green one. The green one is Thakasor.
They don't know WACC, so how do they make decisions in the corporation?
Yeah, I mean, there's one department, the finance one, the big one, they would know it. But when I ask for the discount rate, like you guys, when you do NPV, right, you need a discount rate to do that. So I asked, what kind of discount rate should I use? They have no idea. And the way they make decision, this is a big decision of getting into another country, was basically use the concept of economic value.
Okay, but that sounds a bit like,
Sounds cool, but basically you use the market share. Market share,
economic value.
Assume market share multiplied by potential revenue, something like, without discounting anything.
Okay.
Multiple by, say, you want to forecast 5 years in the future, multiply by 5, and then you get the numbers to show you.
That's something I'd like to ask you guys actually. How many of you guys work in places where they do explicitly use the word NPV and IRR in workplace? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, you're doing real estate, right?
Yep.
So fantastic. Any other companies at all? We have like 40 people here. Only one person works for a company that uses IRR. Actually, based on PJ's comments, I'm actually not surprised. So, then how do you guys make decisions in your organization? How do you get approved? How do you guys make decisions?
In my experience at the former company,
Okay.
decision making was done by the management level only. It was top down.
Management level only. So we actually never get to see how they make decisions. They say, we want to do this, so you guys go and do it. And we don't get to see a glimpse of how the cost benefit analysis was conducted. Okay, so what about other people? Are your experiences the same? You've been told this is what we're going to do. We've actually never been, we've never had the privilege to be involved in the original process where the trade-offs are being discussed. That's a perplexing. Actually, I was expecting to hear from you that family companies don't use this, and I can relate to it. But for listed companies, do not use this. They're coming from a bank too.
Yeah, that's a department that uses it, but my department back then didn't really use that.
Okay, so it's department level thing.
Yeah, and the funny thing was that it's so. I mean, if those people who use NPV or like this model before, it's very easy to manipulate numbers, even easier than what we discussed. How do you think is the easiest way to, for example, I can use NPV now. I have the discount rate. What is the easiest way for you to manipulate numbers?
Don't pretend you don't know it. I see it on your IS eventually. All your independent studies will have this in some way, shape, or form. So let's just say, how do you manipulate the ATV and IRR numbers in your, say, business plan?
What is the easiest way to do that?
So let's go back a bit about where we eventually get the NPV and IRR from, right? It's going to come from your pro forma financial forecast and so on. So if you want to say manipulate the numbers so that the numbers look good, where in your pro forma are you going to be most aggressive on? You think? if you have to track back what you forecast and what really happens in real life, which item do you think will be the most inaccurate?
Sales.
Is that right, Vijay?
Yeah, that's all the numbers, the growth rate, and the one that we always do, like we actually have separate sections so we can manipulate that easily is assumptions. We call them assumptions, so assume. So you can already argue with that's something that you assume the number from. So what do we normally do? We have a section called assumptions. We do the model and we just change the number until we get the numbers that the management wants.
So that's the unfortunate part, right? We've been talking about this. If you use it correctly, it should tell you what works and what doesn't work. But if you want to misuse it, you can also make anything work because the number is the future. You can come up with anything that you want.
Sales, growth rate.
So in that case, once you make your decisions, how are you held accountable to the decisions you make?
Because this department is about international expansion. The thing is that they know they have to grow.
Okay.
Right. So my team is responsible for making sure that it looks nice, the number looks right. You have to make it sound. Because they have already made that decision.
Okay.
So it's different from the actual investment. So that's why they use all these things that people understand easily. Surprisingly, NPV, not really many people understand what NPV is, although it's a very powerful tool, because coming up with the right discount rate is not easy, because there's so many assumptions behind again in coming up with that discount rate.
So what I want to talk a little bit more is also you make decisions, you can make numbers to support your decisions. But then how are you held accountable for the assumptions you make when reality hits you?
I'm trying to think how much I can talk about this.
Okay. Let's just say it's not specific to any organization.
So one thing is that, like you say, normally the management will already have an idea in their mind what they want. And most of the time, if you're not the management yourself, you will just have to make up the numbers that they want to see. And once you become a management, most of the time, again, you will use your gut feeling, and numbers will just back it up. It's called the confirmation bias, if you haven't heard about this. If your heart believes that this is the way to go, and you see the number contradicts that, most likely you try to change the number to confirm your belief. Right? So try not to be biased, look at numbers and try to make decisions. This is what I'm trying to do here right now in the Better Vision company. Most of the time, family business is even worse. They all make decisions based on their gut.
Can you tell a little bit about what Better Vision does? So
Better Vision is the optical retail stores in Thailand. We have 100 branches. So the
way brands that they recognize.
We are a place where I sell a lot of brands like Ray-Ban, Dior.
You have Better Vision, you also have Hallwan. So Hallwan is actually part of Better Vision.
Yes. Yeah, Better Vision is the English name. So the way they make decisions on which branch to open, normally the right way to do is to actually come up with NPV, right? You have to estimate sales, estimate all related costs, discount the future cash flow, and decide whether that investment is positive. But what they do, they go to the department store, look at location, and okay, it looks right, let's do it. So right now, I'm trying to integrate all this financing decision into real action. Right? So that will be more systematic without bias.
So how do you convince people that, say, we have a lot of successful companies who probably didn't make systematic, decisions about where to expand. They just use their gut, and then they end up very successful. So how would you actually, make an argument to them that, hey, our way is perhaps a better way than what you've done in the past, and what you've done in the past actually led you to the success and contradictory.
I'm quite lucky because they admitted that they expand aggressively during the time where it was an economic boom in Thailand. So wherever they go, they will make money. But now they have seen that problem that a lot of branches are not making money. And right now, when they want to expand another branch, they now think much more. And when they discuss that in the board meeting, they'll just start asking questions. Should we have a more systematic way of making that decision? What should be the factors that must be incorporated in decision making. Previously, they would say, okay, it all has to do with location, it has to do with the location of the mall, location inside the mall, purchasing power. They can all quote all these factors.
They sound kind of right.
But still they cannot put them all to numbers.
Okay.
They still, okay, I think this one is good. Good location. This is good purchasing power. Yeah, I think seems good. Let's do it. Still.
I think if you take this, okay, together with the trend of big data and all those stuff that people are talking about today, one of the most important things that I think traditional businesses are lagging behind startup companies is that startup companies sometimes they don't rely on guts, they rely on facts. They get the data, so they may have a view about how the world works, but as soon as they can measure how the world actually works, they're ready to change their views. I would say I had the opportunity to go to one of the data classes held by Sasit last week. I'm their alumni, so I went to their events every now and then. They invited Dr. Alexander Weigert, who is the chief scientist of Amazon, the first one. When Amazon was still a small company, he was like employee number 40 or something. And he was a professor at NYU back at that point in time. And then Jeff Bezos invited him to come over, and he ended up working for them. And now he ended up working for Jack Ma and also Angela Merkel as well. He's retired in Thailand right now, so he gives talks every now and then. If you look at the yellow book on big data that's being translated recently and sold out quite a lot, it's actually his book. Not sure what the book name is called exactly, but it's discussion how data can help you make informed decisions. One of the things which I found interesting that he said was that if you use data, okay, data makes what used to be implicit more explicit. You had a gut feeling about what works, but if you can't quantify it, okay, how do you know it's not just your feeling? How can anybody else see what you feel? So if you start using data, and when I mean data, I don't just mean like use financial numbers. Like Vijay talked about, you want to verify sales at a factory. What do? I don't need to wait for data. Because data I can obtain myself too. I can just go and sit outside the factory, then I will know the activity of the company. So there's a lot of places that you can gather data from. And yeah, so one of the things I was struck by was this discussion. Data makes what used to be implicit more explicit. Data allows you to see, okay, the trade-offs. You may be talking about things. Everyone can make good arguments in boardrooms, in meetings. I think this is what matters. Yeah, but I think this is what matters too. And you're both right. But the question is, okay, when we try to weigh them out, which way shall we go? Because if we don't have a way to quantify the impact of our decision, then everybody is right. So what do we do? What's the best? That's a very difficult question to answer. So I think it's good that a lot of businesses are now waking up to this, right? Things that used to be done on gut in the past. We want to not rely on that person's gut. We want to have a systematic way that if anyone is able to gather this information, they will be able to reach the same conclusion too. So is that what you've been trying to do, I guess, at the vision?
Yes. Just to emphasize a little bit more of what Professor said, that you start from having a hypothesis first on what you think will be the relationship and use data to verify. Because what happened in my real life is that once management is separated from the working team will just simply do correlation of all data possible and come up with weird conclusion. Because they don't have that hypothesis before. So, you could hear it from the news, right? Sometimes it's some weird correlation, like maybe the day that it rains, my sales of retail shop will go up. Something like this. It's no correlation, but somehow you can show that data it is correlated.
So I think in the old age, we gave credit to people who could connect the dots, right? Connect story pieces together, then make convince the argument. But it turns out though, a lot of dots you can connect. You can just be, you can be insightful from the dots you connect, or you can just be bullshitting. Nobody knows because you have no way to prove whether you're right or not. With the rise of more data available and also the tools that we can use to test out these hypotheses, at least we know the dots we connect are the dots that really should be connected. Otherwise, there's just so many possibilities. You can link them together, but you really have no idea whether they are impacting each other at all.
So how I work is that I will start from a hypothesis, use your common sense. This should be correlated, and use your data to prove that, and you sense check again at the end of the result whether there's anything that doesn't look right. So just don't use data entirely. You still have to use your sense, your gut feeling a little bit to sense check that as well.
So I guess in the hypothesis generation part, you probably have to use the creativity to think about what could be related.
Yeah, just going back to the new branch opening, you have to think first. Whether it's location, the factors, the location, the staff there, the purchasing power, province, all these things that should be taken into account, and you run using data back 20 years back and see whether there's any correlation between these things. But if you start by correlating anything that you have, you will come up with some very weird conclusions.
I also teach classes on digital transformation, also big data. So one of these examples I tend to use is you can see two graphs going together, right? But if I tell you, okay, one information is U.S. spending on science, space exploration, so on, right? The spending budget on that. And the other graph you see that go very nicely hand in hand is the death rate by hanging and suicide. Can you conclude that as the US spends more on space exploration, people kill themselves more? The data says so, right? The data says they're correlated. But hey, are they really related? Because if you look hard enough, you can always find two things that look almost identical, at least in the data. But does that really matter for your decision? So one of the things that I think, one of the skills I think that is useful for you guys going out in the future is that you'll be presented with so much data. We live in the age of data. People will try to back up their claims using the data now. But it's actually also very easy to lie with data as well. So do you have the skills to detect the BS in the data? And keeping this at the back of your mind, asking why these two things should be related should always be the first thing that comes to mind. A lot of things that we do in life, instead of telling, okay, X is related to Y, so let's do it, we should immediately think about why is X related to Y. How can you prove that? And I think maybe what a lot of companies are now trying to do isn't just having a systematic way of evaluating decisions, but having a systematic way of ingesting information.
Just to show more examples on how company makes financial decisions, just at Do Daydream. The company was very new. It started off in 2010, and it expanded very fast, become a billion baht revenue company within 5 years' time. So the owner, he was really he was really great at doing what he does, like managing the factory. Making sure that he delivered the products. There will be another marketing lady who she's so great at doing all the advertisement. But then when it comes to systematic decision making, they try to implement it. And the way that they decided was using a payback period. For such a huge project, like whether or not to invest in this new presenter, they'll just use payback period. And you guys know, right, what is the downside of payback period?
Yeah, we covered that. The thing is, when you look at payback period though, how long was the number that came up with?
He's just a very entrepreneur. He said that, okay, he doesn't even understand the word payback period. What he always says that, how much will I get my money back? This is a typical questions that, some of you are from, if you are from family business, you will hear your father or your mother talk about this. When will I get my money back? This is he always talk about. So I asked him how fast do you want it? Okay, I want it to be 1 year. So 1 year to return everything back. And the way that they did payback period analysis, they used sales instead of profits. So the payback period was very short, and nobody challenged that.
Or it's like when your company is doing well, you can do anything, right?
Yeah.
And then nobody challenges you.
It's like, wow, this is so nice. You spent like 10 million baht on marketing, and you return that money within what, 10 months? but you use the sales.
So have things changed when they became listed company afterward?
They try to, but still like normally the board will not come all the way down to this. So they have an executive committee to make this huge investment decision, but most of them are still not familiar with financial concept. So still it goes back to the fact that the CEO has already made that decision, and we have some numbers to back that up.
So let's get back to the differences between private versus public companies, I guess. What would you say would be the advantages and disadvantages for someone choosing to pursue a career in a family business versus a listed company?
Okay, if you're talking about a huge listed company, normally it is already very systematic. You will get in there and people who know what you talk about, because most of them will have MBAs like you guys. The concept, you can talk about that. You don't have to worry about HR because there will be a huge HR function to support you. If you want to find someone, you just tell them and they'll find someone for you. Accounting, you can always find someone to ask questions. But then all you have to do is a very limited job scope. You're just another person in a huge organization. You will have a clear role and responsibility, your KPI. You just have to hit that KPI and then that's it. But it's all completely different once you once you work for a smaller company. You won't really have a clear KPI. It was really a debate between me and my boss right now. He wanted to give me KPIs, and then I told him, he tried to put things in one system, and he said that I want to give you KPI. So I told him that, okay, if you want to give me KPI, I will behave just like another corporate guy. I will just hold on to my KPIs and make sure I deliver on that. Do you really want this? Because in small companies, your job scope is very, very wide. All you want to do is to increase your bottom line. When I get in there, the first day I joined the company, I thought that I would be doing ABC. But once I am in there, there's so many different things I can do that I can increase the bottom line much faster. So when you get into these smaller companies, don't expect that you will be doing only a few things. You have to do everything. HR, if you want to find someone, you have to find that person yourself. You have to do so many things all by yourself. But if you are the type of person who like it, it's going to be very fun. Because the company normally runs this way for the past 30 years, 40 years. So there's so many things that you can help improve. I joined.
Are you actually calling Better Vision a small company?
Oh yeah, our small compared to Kasikorn Bank.
Yeah,
it's a 1 billion baht revenue company. It's not small, but the way they do is still very traditional. So I joined them and I asked a lot of questions, challenging what they're doing right now, and I already saved them like 3 million baht. Just joined them for 2-3 months. Just change one simple thing. I already saved them like 3 million baht. Very easy. So there's so many low-hanging fruits inside there, but you have to be careful that the management is there to really make changes. You have to. You can definitely find a lot of low-hanging fruits, but sometimes they have been doing that. And changing that, some of them will treat that as if they have been stupid during the past 10 years or so. You just have to find that the right management team who really opens for changes. That is so very important.
Okay, so let me ask a very hard question now. Okay, one of the reasons why companies IPO, and there's empirical evidence to support this, is that if you work for a private company, okay, you kind of have to be at the mercy of your boss to be rewarded for your work. If you live inside a listed company, on the other hand, if you work for the company, you don't have to be directly rewarded, because if you buy shares in the company, you benefit too, right? There's empirical evidence on this, that when companies decide to list in the end, the employee turnover rate goes down, right? People stay longer for the companies. One of the reasons why Postal Sapa, the FMCG group in Thailand, like Unilever, P&G, equivalents, they decided to list because it gives them an easier job at incentivizing their employees, having come up with a performance-related system. So, for private companies like this, how do they keep their employees motivated?
It's just to really provide you with the opportunity to work like to do a lot of challenging jobs. The scope, your authority will be much higher. But then if you talk about the companies that is about to IPO, just like in the case of Snow White, then you have some other options like the employee stock options. You will have a lot of things that it's I think it's exciting in different ways. Private company, you can do a lot of things and you don't have to care so much about the reporting, the regulations, and you work directly with the owner. So your work means a lot. You can make a lot of changes. That's what very rewarding for me, and the decision why I made to join a smaller company. Like I started from Do Daydream and then I moved to Better Vision because I'd like to make changes, to make impact.
So, what are people who stick around with private companies for a long time? Are they like different types of people compared to people who stay in corporate jobs, listed companies?
Yeah, for corporate jobs, then you can see that most of them are more, how do you call that? It's like more younger people. They're willing to change jobs if it does not satisfy their needs. If you can find something better, they'll just change. Keep on changing all the time because, like I said, you're just one person. You can afford to lose you. You can find someone to replace you, and you can find another position inside the new company very easily. But for smaller company, a lot of people will be just use example of family business. They have been there forever, 30 years, 40 years. The average age in Better Vision is like 40 plus years. So they have been there, and they don't expect to move at all. They have been there like a family, so they have been doing things. They have been doing things the same way for so long, and they don't want to change. So it's different of dynamic that you can see from these two types of company. And I mean, like in Snow White, it started from a family business, and they tried to transform itself into a newer generation of company. But there was a clash. Older people, they want you to work from 8 to 6, scan your finger, make sure you have to be on time, late for 5 minutes, and they will deduct your salary. The newer ones, you say, okay, I want to come here at 9:30, I do whatever I want, I make sure that I meet my goals. There was a clash. Like the older people, like these kids, they just don't want to follow the rules. So you really have to manage that as well.
And I guess one of the difficult things to balance. I work for tech company too, but it's run by people who did traditional businesses before, and now we're implementing a system where people have to clock in and clock out. And it's becoming quite difficult for the younger generation to cope with flexible work schedule we had before. We didn't really have any fixed hour system before, as long as we get job done. But now we're moving toward a single system for the whole company where everyone has to clock in, clock out. That's a challenge, I guess, of having businesses like this that with multi-generations. You guys work like that? You work for a smaller unit, right? So
yeah. So I mean, even in big companies, if you can find the new unit, it can be fun too. Like in back in Kasikorn Bank, I was in part of the very dynamic team. So things were not like very strict, not just like one person doing the same thing again and again. So inside a big company, you can still find that type of experience as well if you get the right opportunity.
So I think one of the things we talk about source of financing and so on, we talk about them from like investors' perspectives and quite distant. But in real life, though, when you do make financial decisions about where to find your source of financing from, a lot of it comes down to like relationships and so on. So can you like tell them a little bit about for family businesses when they meet banks, interact with banks, when people say relationship-based lending, what does it exactly mean for a business to have a relationship with a bank?
So in the case of Better Vision, they don't really need loans because they have so much cash. But the relationship, I mean, it's really like when I was with the bank, I talked to my friends, like the relationship managers. It really depends on relationship a lot because K-Bank was again, I talk about, I just call it great bank. They didn't really have a good reputation during the financial crisis. When that happened, then he just pulled the credit line all the money back to save the bank. But another bank, Bangkok Bank, just prefer the relationship, try to hold on, try to help their customers, and that matters in very long run. Even these days, there are some companies which always just say no, regardless of the interest rates. Doesn't matter how low you offer the rate, I just don't want to do business with you. In case, yes.
In terms of good relationship with bank and private, like the listed companies, when I came here, this country, I was so surprised that like many developers need to bring bank officers to several like foreign countries. Is that making the good relationship also? Like not only
you take them around to visit.
Yeah, sure. Like thank you for lending money last year, and then bring to like places to show that like that for my company is like Mitsubishi in Japan, so like bring to Mitsubishi project something like they need to have some reason, of course, but like actually for playing like for no reason, but just thank you to grant to them. Is it like so like disgusting reason to bring that like, and it's like not good for the stakeholders of the private companies as well.
So you mean to maintain a relationship, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think relationship is not only banking, it's everywhere.
No, this is the other way around. Right? It's the real estate companies taking care of the lenders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, the numbers when they do more, you can change a little bit to make your case more.
Yeah, that is like so obviously disgusting reason.
Actually, let me ask other companies too. Has anyone had similar experience to Tsuyoshi in your company has to take care of lenders? No? One of the things that it could be is that you in the real estate business, you guys take care of everyone, including contractors.
Yeah, sure.
So
we do.
That's a good reason to take care of contractors, right? Because otherwise they mess up your construction. But so it could just be tradition that since you're taking care of everyone, then let's take care of lenders too, just in case.
Yeah.
That was my suspicion. That's why I want to check with other businesses. Like, you guys borrow money from them. Do you take them to thank you party?
I mean, I think another possible reason is that these relationship managers, they have some authority to help you lower the rate a little bit here and there. So if they like you, they might do that card for you. So I think for real estate, the interest expenses, accounts for a huge portion of your expenses. So just by going down by 0.1%, that would matter a lot. There's sometimes if I don't like you, I just quote the normal price. And then if I don't like you so much, I might just like whisper to you that okay, I can ask my boss to give you spatial treatment. And by 0.1%, that would be a lot already.
So it's up to them to transmit information of the company to the investment company.
Yeah, every company will have authority. You can always ask for more discount. It depends on whether or not you want to do that.
Suppose that can encourage fraud. Right.
What kind of fraud? I mean, because if my thinking is true, just lowering the interest rate, it's still have to be within the company policy.
Okay, so
that
that's
the rate is still be acceptable.
If if the bank normally do not lend money to that kind of company, but like maybe collateral is not enough or something, but then in the beginning of the year, maybe they treat them well, so like because of that.
In that case, I think the committee will not allow that lending regardless. So maybe we're talking more about you guys. We're willing to lend to you guys anyway, but the RM put in some good words so that you were able to get some discount. But it wouldn't be as much so as to influence the decision of yes or no. I think that's not within the ability of the RM to do any of that.
I mean that led to the financial crisis back in was that
97.
97. What happened back then was the one who made the loan decision was a branch manager.
Yeah.
So it's all about relationships. So branch manager back then was so rich.
Yeah.
Because so many people pay under the table to them and approve the loan. So after the crisis, what bank did was that they separated the approval from the relationship manager. the approval must be done without actually knowing. They should not be knowing each other.
Right.
So they have to do it based on numbers. So the numbers can be manipulated a little bit by the relationship manager. And what else can they do? Normally, do you know that there we have a front-end fee when you want to apply for loans? Normally, the relationship manager can waive that. So if you are good, you have good relationship, you can just lower a little bit, waive that here and there. You know, there are quite a few things that can be done.
So when we discuss in class, we take a very bare minimum what a contract looks like. In reality, though, banks have many ways to make money from you. Instead of just charging interest rate, the origination fees, the credit line maintenance fees, and so on are ways they can make money from you. And these are what bank managers sometimes have the ability to adjust a little bit.
Yeah, just normally fixed fee, they can waive. Because it's simply just charge you to make more money. There's no actual cost involved in that. So if he likes you, then just waive that for you.
Anyone has any interesting comments or stories to share like this? We have an ex-banker here, so you can share about the banking industry too.
Any questions about anything that we talked about today?
Maybe something from your private wealth experience. Some of the common mistakes people with money make.
At first you would think that rich people will be very sophisticated when it comes to investment, right? There's so many things that I just share you a few funny things that I experienced by myself. I worked in private banking because I got banked again. Taking care of those people who have like at least $1.2 million in assets invested with us. And normally the questions that they will ask is that normally the IPO of the mutual funds in Thailand is 10 baht, right? 10 baht is the normal price that they would do the IPO price for. So whenever the price goes down below 10 baht, they'll just call me and say, can I invest now? It's cheaper than IPO price. I should buy it now. Do you think it's the right decision?
Oh, it's lower than IPO, so it's discount.
Yeah,
it used to be 10 baht, now it's less than 10 baht, so it's a good buy.
It's a good buy, and now the oil-related fund went down to like 3 baht. Should I buy? It also applies to stock price. You know, my clients say that this stock is 3 baht, the other one is 300 baht. I should buy the 3 baht one because it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper, no?
Why not? SCC is so expensive. It's like 400. I should buy this. Who knows what stock that is traded at 20 star.
It turns out that's a good reason why stocks with lower price people prefer more, right? But that's not with rich people's problem. If you want to buy stocks, is there a minimum amount you have to buy in Thailand? For those of you who buy stocks, suppose I want to buy, say, I think AOT now is what, something baht.
No. AOT is 60 something.
60 something now, okay. Can I buy one stock of AOT? The minimum is, thank you, 100, right? At one point, okay, one of the energy company, coal company, Banpu, used to be 700 baht. If you want to buy Banpu, you need to have at least 70,000 baht. That's the minimum transaction size you need just to buy into that company. So, you know, imagine you were just a first jobber just graduated, you want to buy Banpu. It costs you like 3 months of salary just to buy the minimum amount of Banpu. So sometimes companies do what's called a stock split, right? So we just increase the number of shares outstanding. Apple did this once. At one point, Apple share used to be $700. But by the way, in the United States, you only have to buy one share, so it's fine. It's still $700. So that means you want to buy an Apple share, it's more expensive than an iPhone. So what Apple did was, let's do a 7-to-1 stock split. So what used to be $700 one piece, now it becomes a $100, but 7 pieces. Okay, the stock price goes down. So it's actually one of the things I want to talk to you about in the notes on confidential policies too. That if you think about what a stock split is, it's like dividing a cake. You have a cake. If I cut the cake in 12 pieces versus into 1,000 pieces, can you increase the amount of cake you eat? Right? It's the same cake. no matter how many slices you cut it, you're still going to eat the same cake. So that's what a stock split does. It turns out though, empirically, you cut the cake differently, you get more money. But that's not unusual, because if you go to, say, a supermarket, you buy a whole cake, it might cost you, say, 600 baht, right? You cut it into 12 pieces, it's not 50 baht each, it's 80 baht each, or whatever. Right? There are people who want to buy a small amount, so there's an argument for you splitting those stuff. So back to BJ's comment, 3 baht versus 300 baht. Okay, if lots of investors were small investors like us, then reducing the price of 300 to 3, just by splitting it into many pieces, there should be more people who buy it. But for rich people, 300 baht versus 30,000 baht doesn't make a difference because they buy more than that anyway. Yet, they arrive at this conclusion.
They don't look at fundamentals. Yeah, and then they are great at their own business, so they are not that sophisticated when it comes to investment. So yeah, sometimes they lose a lot of money because, like I talked briefly about the bond. There's so many conditions that you have to go through to read through before you make that investment decision. It could make a lot of difference.
If you look at the new investments instruments that people are selling now, the structured notes, they're a bit like bonds too. There's some clauses embedded in that. I think we'll talk about it when we talk about risk management together. I'm going to show you some of the innovations Vijay talked about, that it can turn something plain vanilla into something that is that really the case? I can have investment that once the investment lose money, it lose me even more money than it's supposed to. I buy a fixed income bond, but it can lose me money. Can happen, right? So we're going to see some of the tools that originally were used for risk management, but when you combine it, you actually get something that is really fantastic and very difficult to understand and make the banks a lot of money.
Yeah, a typical investor, when they buy bonds, the only two things that they will look at: first, interest rate. The second one is the issuer. Like I told you, K-Bank, 4% bond is great. Let's do it. But there's so many hidden clauses in there that can be very risky.
There have been bonds that banks have been issuing in the past few years. Yeah, there's like a global committee that looks at the risk management of banks. They set standards. You may have come across like the Basel Accord. That's what regulates how banks should govern. Ideally, banks shouldn't have too much risk. If they do, though, they can, but they need to have enough capital to support that in case that when their loans that they make go south, they have enough of their own equity to absorb that loss. So, they're trying to make sure that a lot of banks that are operating have enough of their own equity to survive. And we've seen many financial crises, so they start allowing some instruments that can turn to bank equity at the loss of the investor. If you were interested in this, you can search COCO bond, COCO bond, COCO bond. That's the one.
That's
right?
the one I talked about, COCO bond.
COCO bond. COCO bonds are the bonds that when the banks fail, you lose even more money. Because when the banks fail, your bond becomes stock.
Yes.
You are a creditor because you don't want to take risk. When the banks fail, you want to be a creditor to get money first. But a COCO bond converts to bank stock when the bank fails. So when the bank failed, you were thinking you were a creditor. You were thinking you were going to get money. No, you were actually bank shareholders.
Yes, and they make it even worse. It was not just a plain COCO. They issue a callable COCO bond.
And then we're getting a little technical, but let's just say they add all the stuff that for an average investor thinking I'm just buying a bond, the clauses they add actually are worse and worse on me without us realizing.
And the thing is that the rating was worse. We already disclosed that the rating was like triple B minus or something for this type of bond.
But they buy anyway.
They just care. Oh, this is K-Bank. It's 4% interest rate per year. It's good. It's good investment. I'll do it. And your money will be locked up for 10 years, and you don't know what's going to happen in 10 years down the road.
So I guess if you're rich, be wary of people who come and sell you stuff, right?
Yeah, normally it's always high risk, high return. If the return is too high. You have to question why. It doesn't make sense at all why K-Bank wants to offer you 4% interest rate, whereby the normal bonds will cost them like 2% only. You have to ask a lot of questions for this.
I think maybe you guys weren't investing money back then, but if you're investing money in like Solaris bond funds, it's one of the interesting case study too that people think you're investing in fixed income, like bonds, and bonds we think they tend to be safe, but not all bonds are safe, right? Bonds that have a lot of interest rate, bonds that have a lot of coupon. You have to question yourself first, why are they offering me this much? If they're offering this much, there's something wrong about this company. So if you buy them, then be cautious. You may end up losing money.
That was just like a bond that they package into mutual fund.
Mm.
So people don't really look into that kind of mutual fund, what is it comprised of. So they just again look at, okay, this bank offers 2% for 1 year mutual fund. The other bank offers 3%, I'll go for 3%. It's scary.
Are there any other like common misconceptions that people you see a lot of people who invest that money? So we had about numbers, like we fixate on the IPO price, we fixate on small numbers.
I think another misconception is about gold as safe haven. This is very confusion for a lot of people.
So we hear a lot, right? A lot of business people say, I don't know what to do, so let's put my money in gold.
In gold.
If you look at what Line Finance presented earlier, right? One of the first things that they sold was a gold.
Yes.
Through Line Finance. So what have you found about gold?
In terms of rates, I mean, normally people, I think, just another misconception is that when you talk about rates, people always think that rates is a bad thing. But when you talk about rates in finance, rates is actually, you better call this volatility. It means that how much it can deviate from the average number. So it can go up or down. Investment with high rates, it means that it can give you much higher return or much lower return, right? That is called rates. So people, they don't really understand the word risk. They always think that risk is something so bad. Yeah, that is something that is wrong, right? Coming back to gold, people always know that it's a safe haven. But when it comes to risk, gold is one of the riskiest investment. Why? Compare gold to a company. Why investing in gold is more risky than investing in a company? That's right. Because company can generate cash flow in terms of dividend back to investors. Gold generates nothing. Right?
When you think about that, then gold sounds a bit like Bitcoin.
Yeah, people give value to that. What happens if one day people wake up and they say, okay, Lord, don't give any value to gold. Gold will just be just metal. It means nothing at all.
At least you can use it, right? Bitcoin, you actually can't use it. If we talk about this last year, then people will be asking about Bitcoin. But I found the Bitcoin communities strangely quiet for the past 3-4 months now.
If you look at Google Trend, people don't search about Bitcoin anymore.
Oh, really? Okay. What do you search about now?
It comes down.
I'll tell you what people search about now. Cannabinoids, synthetic cannabinoids, and cannabis. Legalized marijuana. That was the next Bitcoin thing. So there was one company that sells marijuana and got listed in stock exchange. It went up like 1,000% in one day, and it crashed too. So that's the next big thing. Used to be the next big thing.
Yeah, this is a study done by my friend. He just looked at Google Trend. Google Trend is the one where you can search you can get the data on which terms is searched in Google from over time, right? So what he did was that he just looked at the word Bitcoin, and it actually is
it predicts the price.
Yeah, a leading indicator whereby if people start searching for it, the price will come up. Like just follow it, and when people search about it, the price will come down.
The correlation is pretty high.
Yeah, so it's interesting too. You can do it. It's free. You can try that yourself.
I don't think it works now. It works on the way up or on the way down. It doesn't work as much, but yeah. But we digress. Yeah, but gold, people think it's a safe haven, but gold prices, if you look empirically though, gold prices are very unstable.
Yeah, because you have to understand these two terms are not the same. High risk and safe haven, right? Safe haven means that you want to invest in it when stock price goes down. That's true. The correlation is normally negative between gold and stock price. So that's why gold is considered as safe haven.
Safe haven, but not safe. More like a haven, not.
Yeah, more like.
Let's just drop the word safe, but not like a haven.
A place whereby you can
park your money just for now.
Just when stock goes down, then normally go up.
So that means that if you buy gold in the long run, it's not as good as taking risk.
Yeah, the gold, because it does not generate any cash, right? So normally if you use that as part of your portfolio risk management, it will work. But invest in gold alone, then it might not work.
Okay, so what do you recommend your clients invest in back then? How do you make those recommendations?
Okay.
Maybe I asked something I shouldn't have asked.
I mean, the way private banking works is that there will be a committee whereby they will be making the decision on what should be the right investment decision, and the best way is to construct a portfolio. Having bonds, stocks, gold, so that the power of diversification will allow you to get more return at lower risk. So the best way is to do that as a portfolio and just look at the whole portfolio return, right? So that's what the investment committee would do. They recommend everything based on principles, doing a lot of numbers, crunch numbers, and come up with this portfolio for you. But what happened in real life is that the customers, they will still look at piece by piece. I will ask you piece by piece that, okay, this is making loss. What happened? Why it's making loss? They never ask the one that is making money. Because they think that they have made the right decision, not the bank. I am so smart, I picked this mutual fund and it is profitable because of me. But the one that is not making money is because of you. So, yeah, this is another misconception that they don't look in total return. They try to pick piece by piece and really focus a lot the one that is making loss.
I think that's one of the things that as investor, the better you get over this, the sooner you get over this, the better. Because it is almost impossible to make money on every single investment that you make. Even big hedge funds don't do that. If you listen to people like Ray Dalio and so on, he says when he takes strategies, each strategy he talks about is like 1% of all his money. It may work out, it may not work out, but if you have more winners than losers, your money grows on average. One of the things, though, if you don't train yourself to think this way, you want to make money on every single investment. Just flip coins. How difficult is it to get heads all the time? And that's doing it just by luck, by skill. How many investments can you really think work like that? And this kind of thinking is, I think, is more probably like in human nature too. Because Chulalongkorn University also has endowment funds, right, to manage. And there's an investment committee that's supposed to take care of that money so that it grows. There's a mandate that says every single investment that we make, we can never lose money. So if you want to invest like that, what do you invest in? Cash. That's what we do. Okay. We put money in fixed deposits because we can't lose the money. So if you can't accept individual losses, it also means you can't accept risk. If you can't accept risk, then don't complain. You don't make money. The whole thing about diversification is that there will be winners and losers. On average, you win more than lose. If you want to win all the time, that's taking a bet. So if you are confident you can do that, then by all means. But if not, for most of us, taking a more diversified position is a better way to go in the long run. You won't get rich overnight. Good investment strategy means you won't get rich overnight. But when you sleep and then wake up maybe 15 years from now, you're much more likely to be richer than if you just take the view in one stock. You could be 10 times richer, you can also lose everything as well. So I think we didn't get to talk about risk and return in my class, but I always leave this as a side thought to the students that when you're young, you don't really have time to go steady. You don't want to take bets, that's fine. But make sure you don't take bets on everything you do. You might want to allocate some of your money so that you take bets in these. So that one will make you rich. And then once you're rich enough, you can take a more defensive strategy. A diversified portfolio will not get you rich, but it won't make you, it will not make you poor. If you do want to be rich, you have to take a bet. Otherwise, just go the turtle's pace, you get there eventually. But yeah, as the sooner you can get across the hurdle that, hey, I'm losing money in the stock, don't watch that. Look at your entire portfolio. Are you better off overall? Great. If you're losing money on this, you don't want to change your mind. Cut it, whatever. Do whatever you want with it, but don't look for all green in your portfolio. If you can get it, that's fantastic. If you can't get it, it doesn't mean you're bad. If you're disciplined.
Yeah, and then just to add on to that, it's another thing that happens all the time with investors is that when they make profit, if it is just 2-3%, they will sell right away. But on the other way, if they make loss, they can bear it until like 70%, 80%. They won't sell. They don't want to make loss.
It's normal.
Yeah, it's very normal.
And don't feel bad, okay? There's empirical research, even in the United States, that retail investors are more likely to do this. A couple of sidelight facts. Number one, the more often you trade, the more money you lose, on average. Okay, this could be true in your experience. There's an empirical paper that documents this. And you don't like to hold on to winners. We like to sell early, like Vijay said. But when we have losers, we hold on to it forever. So that's also not unusual. If you are in that position, you're not alone. The whole world is with you. But now that you know it, it doesn't get you very far. So we can use some discipline to help you with that.
It's always a tough question when I see customers. They will always ask me, when will gold come back to 1,800? When will oil go back to $100 per barrel? And I cannot say like
when will Titanic come back again, right?
And it's like really like that.
Yeah. So the most important thing is be forward-looking. Right? Things can happen in the past. Bad things that happen to investments, sure, but that shouldn't change the way you view the future. I think one of the most important culprit for this is the Stock Exchange of Thailand. If you look at our application, what we see though, we don't see like a day-to-day information. We see like past information. So stocks that have gone down, but it's gone up from 2 years ago, we still think we're making money. But no, we're not making money, because whether we make money or not, we should evaluate this based on yesterday. Today to yesterday, have you gained, have you lost? If you compare today to 2 years ago, chances are you always will be making money. So you still got to hold on to it. In fact, the stuff that we don't sell, we sell a lot later than we think that we do. Even stuff that is still green in our portfolio, sometimes you may have to sell because it's green from 2 years ago, but from 2 months ago, it's gone down a lot already. Right? So don't check your returns based on your historical investment. That's also not a good idea. When you check your portfolio or check your stock prices, check it based on like 1 week or 2 weeks or 2 months ago. Because if you look sufficiently long in the past, you're always going to be making money. But that doesn't mean you haven't been losing money in the past few months. So I've been trying to get SetTrade to change this, but they haven't done it yet. But I think this is one of the things that actually exacerbates all the behavior that we are having right now.
And another bad behavior of the investor is that if you're making loss in one stock, there's a very high tendency that if you have more money, you will reinvest into that stock again, hoping that it will come back up.
Doubling down.
Yeah, instead of looking for an alternative that might return money better. And then you look at the Like for example, it goes down a lot, you put in more money, you don't look at the absolute loss, but you look at the percent loss, you feel happy, oh, I make less loss. That happens all the time.
That's one thing you shared to me like last time too. Like there was a client of yours that you said, I'm gonna sell the stocks, but I'm gonna use a different lot that I bought, right?
Oh yeah, it's always an argument all the time. Like for example, the report will show weighted average cost, but he bought multiple times. He just want to take out the one with the lowest amount so that he can be happy that he made some profit.
Yeah. So it is right now at a loss compared to average cost. We said, I bought one at 20 baht. Even though the average cost is 25, the price right now is 22.
Yeah.
There's a lot I bought at 20. So I'm going to sell that lot instead. So I'm going to make money on that one.
That's bad.
Actually, you're laughing at this, but in the United States, it matters. Because when United States, the tax, when you sell, the price you sell, you have to compare against the cost that you bought the stock for. So you can choose in which stock you can. I don't think so. I think you can choose which stock you use to sell. So that affects the tax you pay to the government. That's the only case where it matters. But for Thailand, though, we have no tax anyway. Then you pick the 20 baht one, 25 baht one. It's still a stock. So we use a weighted average one. But if you try to think about this from that perspective, they're not entirely wrong. It kind of makes sense from that perspective. But that's the problem, right? If you make a good argument, anything can sound right. So how do we get across that trap, and then be more fact-based, more data-based instead? So I think maybe we could take some questions if you have, but this is probably as much as we would like to share with you. So do you guys have anything you like to ask about this experience? If not, next time we'll be back on track. I'm going to switch things around a little bit, okay? I was going to play the game with you on the last class, but I want to make the game a bit sooner than that. So I may have time to do some wrap-ups at the end about what we expect. So next time, no lecture, we're going to play a game together. Just come with an open mind. I'll prepare everything for you. We're going to play a simple game together using some poker chips. And hopefully you get some insights from that game out of it. Okay, if you don't have anything else, then please join me in thanking Vijay for his insight. Have a safe trip. Forward to see you next time.
Thank you.
Can you cut out my part?
Never.